Hello and welcome. This is Mr. Lauren with Reading is Fantastical here with another great book review for you today. And so this is one a little bit different. So I'm going to ask you a question real quick. Are you a science person? Are you curious about how the world works and how of all of the things that happen on the planet? Do you like to experiment on things and enjoy what happens? Well, this is going to be a great story for you today. So let me go ahead and go to the book title. And there it is. There's the book cover. Foote was first. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Foote was first, how one curious woman connected carbon dioxide and climate change. And here is indeed the book. All right. So once again, we try to have a book that's available for everyone that may be found in your public library, or of course that you can buy on Amazon, like a sponsor, Amazon, or any other the book outlets that we have for you. Okay, so let's go to the inside cover. Let me get caught up here in the book so we kind of read along with you. All right, so here it is. Eunice Foote was a curious kid. What makes milk turn to butter? Hmm. Why can I see my breath when it's cold? Why are there different kinds of clouds? You see the connection here, asking a lot of questions, very curious, okay? And from a young age, Eunice's natural curiosity led her to learn more about how the world works. As an adult, Eunice did experiments and tests that helped her make an important scientific breakthrough. Long before people called it climate change, Eunice discovered the greenhouse effect, which still impacts our world today. Acclaimed creators Jen Bryant and Amy June Bates unite to tell the remarkable story of Eunice Foote, the first person to recognize that carbon dioxide warms the Earth's surface. Wow, that is pretty cool. Let's go and see here. We have the copyright page. We always encourage everyone to make sure to turn to the copyright page and find out who the publisher is and the author and illustrator a lot of times, and let them know how much you enjoyed what you learned via their book. All right. And so let's go to the author page. Once again, it just kind of reiterates the page here. Foote was basically first to discover this, how one curious woman connected carbon dioxide and climate change. Okay, and we see it is written by Jen Bryant and illustrated by Amy June Bates. All right, so let's go ahead and do our usual thing here. Are you ready to get to the story? Hmm? Are you sitting comfortably? Are you relaxed? Do you have your reading ears on? Are you being quiet? Keeping your hands to yourself? All right, let's go. All right. So we show here the first page. Let me get caught up with you guys. All right, here we go. And we see here, we have a bunch of gentlemen there. It looks like they're standing looking at something here. Let's read what's on the page here. On a mild May day in 1861, Professor John Tyndall spoke before a group of top scientists in England. 2 years earlier, he had experimented with different gases and made a discovery: water vapor and carbon dioxide, both found in ordinary air, trapped the sun's heat and made the earth warmer. Hmm. Nothing, so far as I'm aware, has been published on this, he claimed. Remarkable, astonishing, fascinating, the scientist declared. Professor Tyndall is the first person to prove it. But was he really the first? No, he was not. Go to the next page. 3 years before, and we see this person here, before Tyndall's experiments, Eunice Newton Foote, an American, had already proven how gases in our atmosphere trap the sun's heat, a natural process known today as the greenhouse effect. Okay, let's go to the bottom of the page there. And we see Eunice Foote here. Okay, so why didn't Tyndall give Eunice credit? Why did he claim to be the first? Like most men in those days, now we're not pointing blame, simply just pointing facts. Like most men in those days, the professor believed women were not curious and could not learn science. Wow. Okay, even some women believed it. Hmm. We'll go to the next page. I'm just reading the facts. Let's go to the next page. Okay, don't get mad at me. I'm just a messenger here. All right. So we see, looks like a farmhouse here and some animals and whatnot. See some young person there. But from a very young age, Eunice was curious. Why do some chickens lay more eggs than others? What makes milk turn to butter? Where does well water come from? Growing up on her family's farm, questions sprouted in her mind as quickly as wheat in the fields. All right, let's go to the next page. See the farmhouse, okay, cows, and we see Eunice there. We're going to presume that's Eunice. Okay, next page. All right, and we see a horse here. We see some family members. Okay, let's read. Her brothers and sisters were patient with her. I would imagine so. Next page. But as Eunice grew, there were questions they couldn't answer. Why can't I see my breath when it's cold? Why does chimney smoke hover above the house? Why does the air feel heavy before a rainstorm? How does fog form? Hmm. Why are there different kinds of clouds? We talked about clouds in a previous book. Let's talk about now. Let's stay focused on this. All right, the bottom of the page. Eunice was curious about these and many other things. She longed to learn more about how the world worked. Next page. All right, so we see some ladies here in this picture. Let's go to the bottom. And so at age 17, right, Eunice left home to attend a girls' school in Troy, New York. At that time, there were very few places where girls could learn science. Very interesting. I'm glad she decided to really pursue her passion, right? Go to the next page. But Eunice took classes in botany, chemistry, and geology and learned all about plants, the Earth's elements, and rocks. She did experiments in a real laboratory using the same methods and tools that scientists used. And there she is with the goggles on, experimenting, writing notes and stuff. Very important to take notes, okay? Keeping your notes very current, right? Next page. Eunice loved science. She also loved a lawyer named Elisha Foote. After her graduation, they married and moved to Seneca Falls, New York. Soon the Foote family grew to include daughters Mary and Augusta. Eunice was a busy mother, but she was still curious. Elisha, I should say. She loved a lawyer named Elisha Foote. That's his name. All right, there he is. There they are. Next page. Okay, and there are some of the children, a couple of kids there, Mary and Augusta. Okay, all right, next page. All right, so we see some ladies here gathering around. Okay, next page. And we see some people here. Let's find out what's going on. On the bottom of the page, on July 17, 1848, Eunice celebrated her 29th birthday by traveling to the first ever women's rights convention in the United States. People came from near and far to talk about the unequal treatment of women in workplaces, schools, churches, courtrooms, and government. All right, there they are. She was at the forefront of that whole movement, making sure. Let's go to the next page. All right. They listened to speakers like the famous Quaker minister Lucretia Mott, who said that women should have an equal participation with men in the various trades, professions, and commerce. And to author and former slave Frederick Douglass, I've read about him, who wrote, "All that distinguishes man as an intelligent and accountable being is equally true of women." Mm-hmm. All right, some good speakers there, right? Very good information. Let's go to the next page. Eunice had always been curious, and being curious led to discovering new things. Eunice knew women are just as good as men at that. But how could she prove it? Right? Go to the next page. All right. Ooh, look at this curious picture. All right. Looks like volcanoes and dinosaurs and stuff. Find out what happens at the bottom. Around this same time, a new branch of science was growing is growing. Paleontology. Paleontologists found fossils of ancient plants and animals, and when they studied these fossils, they noticed differences in their size and shape over time. They concluded that at one time, Earth was much hotter. Wow. Okay, go to the next page. Okay, so we see someone studying a book here. Geologists believe that millions of years ago, the warmer temperatures came from heat beneath the planet's surface. But Eunice was curious. Could there be another reason? Go to the next page. That is a very good question, though, right? Why did it? Okay, and we see somebody here, I'm assuming that's Eunice, taking notes and thinking about things. Okay, next page. All right, so let's go to the bottom of the page and find out what's going on here. Eunice planned an experiment. My investigations have had for their object to determine the different circumstances that affect the thermal action of the rays of light that proceed from the sun. What happened, she wondered, when sunlight traveled through air that was damp or dry, dense or thin, or mixed with carbon dioxide? Okay, so let's think about the experiment. All right, so next page. To find out, she took 2 glass cylinders and placed a thermometer in each. Okay, you with me? Middle part here. Using a simple pump, she pulled air out of one cylinder and pushed it into air into another. Okay, last part at the bottom. Making sure they were the same temperature, she placed them side by side in the sun. All right, you with me? So let's read that again. To find out, she took 2 glass cylinders and placed a thermometer in each. Using a simple pump, she pulled air out of one cylinder and pushed air into another. Making sure they were the same temperature, she placed them side by side in the sun. All right, let's go to the next page. Later, she checked their temperatures. The sun's effect, Eunice concluded, increases with the density of the air and is diminished as it becomes rarefied. In other words, condensed air, like in a valley, okay, got hotter than thin air, like on a mountaintop. Okay, all right, let's go to the next page, and you see her experimenting. Next page. Then she added moisture to one cylinder and made the air in the other one drier. Added air, moisture to one, and the other one drier. She placed them again in sunlight. The action of the sun's rays was found to be greater in moist air than dry air, she noted. Who has not experienced the burning heat of the sun that precedes a summer's shower, she added. Go to the next page. But the most exciting part of the experiment came next. After filling one tube with common air and the second tube with carbon dioxide, she again left them in the sun. The one with carbon dioxide rose to 125 degrees. Then she took them out of the sun. The tube with the carbon dioxide was many times as long in cooling, okay, than the tube with common air. Okay, next page. And an atmosphere of that gas would give to our Earth a high temperature, she concluded. And if at some point in the Earth's history there had been more carbon dioxide in the air than it, and not the heat beneath this planet's surface, would have made the Earth warmer. Right? Okay, next page. Eunice wrote a report so she could share her methods and her results with other scientists. But how and where could she write that report? Okay, next page. Every summer, American scientists held a meeting where they discussed their experiments and discoveries, but only men were allowed to speak at the meetings. Only men could stand before the group and be recognized for the discoveries. So a friend of Elisha's presented Eunice's results instead. The date was August 23rd, 1856. So she got her husband's friend, okay, to present her experiment notes at this meeting because women were not allowed to speak or to stand up and be recognized. You with me? All right, let's go to the next page. All right, so we see all this stuff going on here. She's still there, but she's not allowed to stand and be recognized. Very interesting. Okay, so she has somebody else present the information. Go to the next page. 5 years later, in 1861, Professor Tyndall would claim that he was the first to show that more carbon dioxide in the air made the earth warmer. So she read that in the paper, right? Took credit for her. She was the first one. Let's go to the next page. All right, perhaps because Eunice was a woman and an American, and because she was not a professional scientist, Tyndall ignored her work. Perhaps he never even read about her experiment, even though her results were published in scientific journals. We will probably never know. Interesting. Next page. But we do know that because Eunice was curious, she was the very first person to show us the connection between carbon dioxide and global warming. Next page. And there she is. Okay. So sometimes not all about the titles, but just having knowledge, studying, learning, being curious, right? Next page. Okay. And we see all the smog and stuff. Ooh, a lot of dirt in the air, a lot of smog stuff. Not very clean. Next page. As humans have put more and more carbon dioxide into the air from cars, power plants, and factories, our Earth has become hotter. You see that? Now it makes sense, huh? That's what we're talking about because it comes from cars, carbon dioxide, power plants, and factories. The Earth has become hotter. Okay, carbon dioxide, global warming. Next page. But now we can choose to use what Eunice proved to help our planet. We can find new ways to make the energy we need for our homes, cars, power plants, schools, farms, and factories. Okay, so we see some windmills and things of that nature. All right, very cool. Okay, next page. Water, yes, that's right. And then, of course, solar panels and things of that nature. Next page. Okay. And we see Eunice here experimenting. So let's read the information. Because Eunice was curious, she made an important discovery. If you are curious like Eunice, imagine what you will do. So don't give up. All right. If you're curious, keep on being curious. Write it down, make notes, publish it, right? Next page. You see the laboratory in the back there. Okay. All right. Last couple pages here. All right. So we see the timeline, okay, about different things. Make sure you get the book so you can kind of follow the different timeline, what was going on. Starts in 1770, according to this book, going all the way to January 2011 for this book. Okay. I'll go to the next page here, and then we see the glossary of some of the terms that we talked about and some of the information, the bibliography, the source, and the notes at the bottom. All right. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Once again, we are always learning something new and curious and interesting, okay? And taking notes about who is what. So we're just trying to give you the facts, right? Like, share, and subscribe. My name is Mr. Long with Reading is Fantastical. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.